Hello and welcome to the first episode of MAnews. My name is Tom Vince and I'll be taking you through all the comings and goings, twos and fros and jaw-dropping action from all corners of the UK martial arts scene. Our programme will feature highlights, up-and-coming events, breaking news stories, interviews with some of the greats in martial arts today and much more. But first of all, on the 21st of May, we all experienced the explosion onto the scene of a new generation in martial arts, the live launch of MAaction.com. I was there to witness all the excitement firsthand and can say in complete confidence it was a breathtaking show and well worth a watch. Here to tell us all about the evening and to put the final icing on the cake with an expert roundup are two of the men behind the glitz and glamour of MAaction.com, two equally glitzy and glamorous individuals and both experienced martial artists, Adrian Gardiner and Richard Vince. Welcome guys, nice to have you here.
Nice to be here.
Yeah, nice to be here.
Excellent. Now, could you start by telling us a little bit about your history in martial arts so the viewers can get an idea of where we're at? Adrian, if you could kick us off, please.
Sure. Yeah, I've got about 20 years' experience overall, although I have to be honest, I haven't actually trained for the last few years. I've been very, very busy with the broadcast side of things. Yeah, it was fundamentally a traditional background. Elements of freestyle associated with it, but Shotokan was the real core. Certainly had my time on the mats and had quite a number of competitors over the years, met a fantastic number of people along the way, and yeah, just a sort of instructor behind the scenes getting on with running a school.
A real pure entry into martial arts then, a really single style.
It was certainly a single style to begin with. As I say, it was a Shotokan instructor who I joined up with, and I think probably the first 10 years was that. We went a little bit more freestyle and I did a little bit of kickboxing as more and more of my students actually wanted to compete.
I believe you've actually had some sort of insight into the world of kickboxing, be it very little.
Oh yeah,
I'm joking.
just a fight or two. I like Adrian, I started in the more traditional side of things. I trained with Grandmaster Blackwell in Ipswich, and it was a Taekwondo type karate, if that makes sense. We used
Bit of a hybrid.
Yeah, we used to learn the Taekwondo kicks and forms and patterns. However, we would always compete in the traditional karate tournaments. So that was good. I went to train with the England squad, the Great Britain squad under Tiki Donovan, which was
difficult.
Well, not difficult, but it's
challenging.
Really good experience. Tiki always challenges you. You know, he makes you look inside yourself and come up with something more than you've already got.
So, how many years have you actually been practicing martial arts then?
30 years.
So that would make you 21, I believe you were saying to us earlier.
Absolutely, that's exactly right. And after I did several years of karate, I got into kickboxing via a little bit of light continuous and point fighting semi-contact, and spent a little bit of time doing kickboxing as well, and to be fair, just a little bit of boxing as well.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I couldn't ask for two more qualified individuals to have on the show. Let's check out some of the action from the launch itself. And first we have some fight action beginning with low kicks, and we must apologise as this action was actually billed as K1 on the evening.
This is a cracking fight, you know. These guys look in really good shape.
Yeah, I've got to say, low kicks is a real sort of battle. It's really to do with toughness on the body, isn't it?
It's quite violent, well, to the legs, isn't it?
You see them laying into each other and no pads either, so imagine the amount of conditioning that has to go onto the shins.
Yeah, absolutely, and the thighs as well. I mean, you know, we've all had a dead leg, even if it was a long while ago and we're at school, and it really has.
Yeah, so we move on to the more to TAGB.
This is what I loved about the show, the fact that we actually had such a variety of different fighting styles, you know, from the traditional karate right through the semi-contact to the ring-based sports, and I think the variety just summed up everything we want. This fight particularly, I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, you can't really ask for much more. I mean, we were looking for some stuff, but it was a first round finish. I mean, I believe we were just about to see look away at home if you're sensitive.
I know, that's an absolutely cracking knockout, and I think probably he was already gone in the first.
Yeah. This is a K1 bout, isn't it? And
yeah, that's correctly the K1.
And I think the guy had taken a bit of stick beforehand, but
I have to say though, when I did actually see James Russell in the VT, I thought, you know, my money's on him. He did look very fit compared to the other guy.
That's the thing about K1 though. In most other sports, the turn back fist is illegal, isn't it?
Yeah, most.
But in K1, it's actually it's brought around, you know.
But it's a great technique.
It is, yeah. So well, as we saw, it's certainly deadly enough.
It's a great technique. The only reason it's not allowed in lots of associations is that people make mistakes when they hit. Mistakes. They hit with the unpadded part of the glove or the elbow or the forearm.
Yeah.
It's not that the spinning back fist is disallowed. It's that it's not always delivered as you'd hope.
Obviously that wasn't the extent of what we had on our show. We also had some performance martial arts. And of course we can't forget the amazing demonstrations, including the boys from Strike.
Yeah, some of the demonstrations. I mean, this was the TMAS martial arts team from Zara Pythian's group, and they were absolutely phenomenal. They were.
They did a synchronised kata halfway through as well, which was just phenomenal. I mean, it was so practiced and so well drilled.
And you'd be forgiven for thinking at home that some of the slow-mos within it were actually special effects, but they were real in real time.
Here are our resident celebrities. You can imagine the shot of the audience right now. Countless girls swooning.
They're so on time, aren't they?
They are. They're excellent.
But you can't forget, of course, the youngster that we had, Jack Griffiths. Here he is.
Here he is. Yeah, he was
just superb.
Excellent.
Multi-world champion in his forms. I mean, just look at some of the moves he's pulling off there. I hate to think what he's going to be like as he grows up.
Well, we just went through some of those flips with him in the kitchen before we went on, and you know he picked it up quite quick, but. He's good. He's got a little bit of potential, I suppose, in the years to come.
I think so. Yes, I think he's got an awful lot of potential.
But it's excellent to see that the demonstration martial arts as well as the more physical side, isn't it? It's a real.
And this is what this channel's all about. It's about everything to do with martial arts, and there is so much more than just fighting. And there's so many fighting styles. There's so many different demonstration styles. There's the traditional kata, which we also have within the show. You know, it's a rich. Spectrum of different things, and we want to show all of that, and really excited about it.
It's great. I mean, some styles get lots of coverage anyway, the ring sports, but performance styles get a bit less coverage, and so do the point styles.
Yeah, well, there's lots of stuff to view, and remember, all the clips you've seen here are available in full to watch as many times as you want under the show section of our website. Well, there's plenty more still to come in the programme, including traditional karate from the EKA, a roundup of action from the CMAax Super League. Now, for a quick roundup of news from around the world of martial arts. Firstly, from the IKF, Carl Mallison and Darren Trustram will meet for the Southern Area Amateur Super Middleweight Full Contact Kickboxing title in Bournemouth on the 12th of June, with John Whittam defending his English Light Middleweight title on the same bill. The IKF will again be showcasing its greatest talents at the IKF World Classic event in Florida. The competition commences on the 15th of July and will run for 3 days, with categories covering every spectrum for the amateur fighter. Now, from the WFKKO, on the 22nd of May, Ken Horan faced off against Grimsby-born fighter John Lee at 74.5 kilograms for the association's prestigious European kickboxing title. Ken Horan came out the unanimous victor in what was a classic display of martial grit and determination. Now, a new body has been formed under the banner of the British Kickboxing Council. This is in order to gain recognition as an official sporting association. The BKC is an umbrella organisation open to all kickboxing groups who wish to be involved. Tremendous news for the sport of kickboxing and overall a massive step forward in martial arts. Finally, while we were busy with the MA Action launch, fighters from Pele's Gym attended the WKA British Championships in Birmingham. Winners from the club were Faye Hand, Paige Hughes, Morgan Mountford and Neve Kynham. We hope to bring you a full report of this in a future programme. Recently, our Director of Production, Adrian Gardiner, visited Sheffield to check out some traditional karate action brought to us courtesy of the EKA.
Welcome to the English Institute of Sport here in Sheffield. Over 200 competitors have travelled from as far away as Nigeria in order to take part in the EKA National Open Karate Championships. Joining me now is Peter Allen, the Vice President and General Secretary of the AMA, one of the associations affiliated with the EKA and involved in today's event. Peter, welcome.
Yeah,
tell me a little bit about today's event.
It's the first of the what we class as our national championships, the English Karate Association's first ever championships. We've got 59 events running over the whole of the day in kata and kumite, which also involves team rotation, which is the brainchild of the World Junior Karate Federation, and we operate Ippon, Rosarian single points.
Yeah, I noticed you using this sort of more traditional form of point scoring. Well, why have they chosen to use that?
It's well, we've adopted that within the EKA because we feel that it's a much fairer system, and we've also adopted within the kata an open list which can involve the WUKF. So we're trying to bring the WUKF and the World Junior Karate Federation, in fact all world bodies, to try and say that there's rules there for everybody, and we should be using the best of all those rules. So we've adopted in part the World Junior Karate Federation because we feel it's a fairer system for people to compete under.
And it's about 200 competitors today from all over the world?
There's, yes.
As far as Nigeria, I've heard.
That's right. We've got a team from the Nigerian Karate Federation who've flown in. There should have been 10, but we've managed to get 3 of them here. And as near as Sheffield. So they're from all over the place. We have over 200 competitors. So yeah, it's a great event.
Brilliant.
And I'm honoured to be able to be asked to support it and help with the commission side of the refereeing that's been newly appointed today.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, the newly appointed referees commission, which is. Like I say, it's the...
And that's sort of raising standards in refereeing?
It's going to raise the standards of referee. Well, we hope it raises standards. And that's the beauty about it. We're not restricted. It's open. It's transparent. There's no restrictions. There's no politics. And we want it to be fun for everybody. And if you've got good referees, you have good competitors. And that's what it should be all about.
And there's a particularly special event that took place earlier, isn't there? The
Mark
Duncan...
There is, the Memorial Trophy. A little bit history of that was last year we had a charity-run event of which Mark Duncan, who was a coach for us for many years within my group, the AMA, he was here last year. He had cancer this time last year. We ran the tournament as a charity tournament, donated everything to cancer research, and Mark was here to present the trophies last year.
Yeah.
And sadly he passed away in November, so we decided to run as a mark of respect for Mark and all the other people out there that's inflicted with this very sad disease. A memorial trophy.
I think that's a fitting tribute.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Peter, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
With the future events of that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And there's a lot more of the EKA National Open Championships available elsewhere on our channel, including the Mark Duncan Memorial Katas in full. Adrian Gardiner, MA Action News, Sheffield.
Fantastic stuff there. Luckily, we've got our own traditional mastermind in the house today who can talk us through this. Now, I was watching that and I'm not particularly clued up with the Wazari Ippon system.
Yeah, that's right. They were using, that's a very traditional system where you actually are endeavouring to score a point. And there's fundamentally 6 criteria that it's judged on, including good form and proper execution of the technique. And if you actually execute all of those 6 things correctly, then you get your point. If it's about sort of 90% there, then the referee generally errs on the caution and gives you a Wazari half a point. For me, I personally prefer the 3-point system. You know, there's a lot more dynamic techniques pulled out, I feel, when you've got the opportunity to get 1 point for a body punch or 3 for a head kick or a takedown.
It's risk and reward, isn't it? Really?
Well, there is, yeah, and I think, personally, I think that just makes it a much more interesting sport. But I love the style of fighting involved with it, of course, you know, because you are genuinely showing your skill and you know, you're actually delivering a technique which if properly executed would do a lot of damage, and then you're controlling it.
At the risk of kicking something off, I believe our other guest, Richard, prefers the Wazari Ippon to the 3-point system. Am I correct?
Yeah, I don't, for no other reason than it. If you go back to basics, the Ippon rule was to represent a technique. Sorry, an Ippon, when it was awarded, represented a technique that, if delivered at full power, would end a fight. So, for instance, a head kick, a punch that was to double somebody up, or was an undefended punch to the back or something like that, would be an Ippon. You know, and as I said, if delivered at full power, would end the fight. Wazari was a technique that wouldn't end the fight, but was still a scoring technique.
Do you think that's not been lost somewhere along the way, though, and it's more the sort of 90% caution rule? Yeah,
I think you're right. I think that, you know, for instance, sometimes you see a head kick and it's not quite clean, so people will give a Wazari for it. And to me, that's not quite right, because it either wasn't it was either a good enough technique for an Ippon, or it wasn't a good enough technique.
Yeah.
But I like both ways of doing it. I think the 3-point system works brilliantly as well. quite like the idea of if a technique would have ended a fight, then it was worth a nip on.
Yeah, the original concept, I think, was there. I think the thing that I love most about the three-point system, though, is if you're in the last 30 seconds, and you know, both fighters are level pegging, and now suddenly they've got to pull something special out in order to take that last point. You know, and the head kick is going to seal it with 3 points,
well,
because
that's the modern advantage. Is it adds that excitement factor, doesn't it? I believe we've got some clips from Sheffield. If we can take a look at those, and we can see just what the Ippon Wazari system is really bringing us right now.
Yeah, and this is what I love, the fact that in a traditional fight it is about the skill element. It's not about just making the contact. You are showing those techniques, as Richard says, that if they delivered full power would end a fight.
At the risk of appearing young and impetuous in front of you masters here, it is reverse punch city, isn't it? I mean, it is the most scored technique. And
these guys, if you think about it, they're spending ages setting up technique. You know, these guys are trying to manoeuvre their opponents into a position where they can score. You know, there's an awful lot more to traditional karate than actually throwing the technique. It's all about setting the technique up, drawing your opponent, trying to work out how they'll respond when you do a certain thing, and then responding to that response.
Great reverse punch there.
In my experience, it does tend to be the women who have the much more furious fights.
Well, also the children, particularly the young teenagers, and that you find some really
also the best fights often, aren't they?
Yeah.
Kata, perfect. I mean, this we didn't mention it. They had a lot of traditional kata.
There was a tremendous amount of traditional kata, and some of the practitioners were really spot on. And as we saw in the report, the Mark Duncan Memorial Trophy, the people who actually took part in that, they were really top of their game with the kata. Some fantastic demonstrations. And what I love about kata at traditional tournaments, of course, is, you know, fighting, let's face it, is generally a young person's game. You know, we all get past that, and kata then gives you that opportunity to continue to perform and to continue to show off your skill.
It's fantastic. It's really good. I mean, that is the real nuts and bolts of martial arts, isn't it? That's the real nuts. It's the real base level that we've got.
It's the real nuts and bolts of karate, yeah.
It is, well, martial arts, that's my mistake as the host. I mean, real nuts and bolts as far as it's the most base level of that particular style that you can possibly get that's practiced today, isn't it? And amongst other styles, there are similar.
But to do a good kata, you've got to tell the story. You've got to effectively, through your performance, show the bunkai and the applications of that kata in order to tell a story and bring it to life. And if you do that well, there is nobody who's watching who wouldn't find that really exciting, I think.
Well, as many of you already know, over the past months, we have been gathering large amounts of material from across the UK. One of these tournaments was the CMAX Super League Great British Open in Birmingham. I went along to catch up with a few of the dedicated martial artists who made it happen. This is Tom Vince broadcasting today from the CMAX Super League British Championships here in Birmingham. My guest today is Peter Edwards, 6th Dan in kickboxing and Vice President of WACO. Mr. Edwards, nice to have you here with us.
Nice as well, thank you.
Excellent. Could you tell us a little bit about the tournament, please?
The tournament is a very high-profile tournament because there's about a few of them, 6 or 10 of them a year, and it's done in ranking system. So it's all in points as well. So at the end of the year, to see who got the most points, who's the overall winner of the year.
Excellent. And the overall winner, do they go on to a bigger championship?
This one as well. Not only the British, is your point C sequence to get on the British team as well. We have the British Championships in February. That's eliminations and to get all the people joined for the team. And then this is like for points as well, to get on the, because what it is, a British Championship, trying to get as many people in as possible, especially for the kids. There's about 70 places in the kids. I want to know that we're sending the right people to represent the country to bring back the gold medal for Great Britain. So that's why we hold different tournaments like this one. There's one at Brian Beck's at this tournament as well, accumulating points to get into the team.
Excellent. Well, there's definitely some excellent fighters here, as we've seen, already. There's over 700 people here. So, as you've said earlier when I was having a chat to you, this is much a more high-profile sport than it used to be.
It did. The thing is, what WACO has done now, WACO has moved into the ranks of the World Games, so we joined with the athletes. Last year, Neville, myself and Brian went to Beijing to the World Games, and unbelievable. About 10,000 spectators just to come to watch the kickboxing. And it's a stepping stone before we get to Olympics, if we ever get there in the future. Like, you do the World Games first, Commonwealth, Europeans, and probably the Olympics at the end of that. That's what we're stepping towards. That's what we're moving towards.
Fantastic. So it's definitely on the up and up.
Oh, it is. Yes, it is.
Excellent. Well, it's always nice to hear. Always nice to hear. Are there any freestyle katas here today, or anything along of that nature? Well, we just saw an excellent demo kata by Master Beck's young son.
Oh, it's not his son. It's one of his students. Actually.
One of his students.
and he's a double world champion in European as well as world. Plus, he's won a couple of World Cups as well. So he's dominated that section in his weight category. So
excellent. Well, it gives you a standard of how good the fighters here are today. Well, thank you, Mr. Edwards. I'll let you get back to your refereeing duties. I won't keep you for too long. Thank you very much for having a chat with me. Thank you. I'm Tom Vince. This is MAaction.com news here at Birmingham. Thank you very much. Excellent stuff there. Real transition from the other tournament we just saw. I don't think you could get much further afield without actually changing martial arts, could you, really?
Well, no. You see, the thing is, I love that as well. I think that's great because instead of spending ages setting a technique up, this is just about go get it. You know, it's about being first, being fast, being exciting, and they've set that competition up just with a different set of criteria, and their criteria is to make it as fast-flowing as possible.
Well, it's expression, isn't it? Its tagline is freestyle martial art or freestyle kickboxing. So they can do is they score so many more techniques. They're probably not quite as clean as the other one, but they certainly get to do a lot more. But it does have its.
I think there's also. I think that what I love about it is the fact it's also about who can dominate the fight. You know, it's you. There's a tremendous amount of fitness in any martial art, of course there is, but in that particular style of fighting that we saw there, you know, you've got to be able to keep going for the entire round. You know, there's no start-stop, there's no drawing breath. Who can dominate that fight and actually take charge of it? And
yeah, watching it though, there are a lot of set techniques that tend to score an awful lot, whereas in traditional there are, but there are fewer of them, aren't there?
Yeah, there's definitely more variety of techniques that score in the CMAC type tournament. And that reflects their much more relaxed and open way of doing things. You know, it's much more, as you said a moment ago, freestyle. Yes, I mean, the thing is though, it's a lot more padded, isn't it? In safety equipment, it is, and it means that a lot of young kids can take it up as well.
Precisely, yeah. You get a much wider range of people being able to take part in it, and you know, there's a much higher level of safety because, you know, for every martial art, you've got to remember most people, of course, they've got day jobs, they've got other things to do, and if you go and compete at the weekend, the last thing you need is to be going with bits hanging off or black eyes on the.
We've got some clips of it, so if we have a look at it, we can talk the guys through it at home as well. As we were just saying, I mean, it's heavily padded, so the safety is a big aspect there, but they're also doing techniques which need the safety, aren't they? They're doing a lot of head kicks and a lot of strong techniques to the head as well.
Yeah, and these guys are really looking to they are looking to set something up, but maybe they don't spend quite as long setting it up, and they're more explosive. They're much more willing to go for it and take a bit of a chance that they'll be scored on, rather than playing the percentages and looking for a sure thing.
Well, it's actually the technique, it's the making contact that actually scores, isn't it? But there's so often when the fight starts, they're just straight off the line, get their first technique in. They see a couple of kids. I mean, it's great, isn't it?
It's be first, be fast, be furious, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm guessing this is continuous because the referee's not stopping this one. So
yeah, really good.
Now, it gives me great pleasure to be the first to announce this exclusive news for all you budding MMA practitioners and enthusiasts out there. Dave O'Donnell, the flamboyant host of Ultimate Challenge MMA, will soon be unveiling his new brand, White Collar MMA. Now, the White Collar brand itself began in boxing and has taken the nation by storm in the last couple of years. As the name suggests, it's combat for the average working individual and encourages people from all backgrounds to get in the ring and mix it up with people from a similar level. It has certainly brought boxing back to the masses. Now, I don't think there'll be any disagreement about this one, guys. But what are your thoughts on the White Collar brand that Dave O'Donnell's brought in here?
Well, I've been involved with white collar boxing for some time, and I really think it has brought boxing back to the masses. You know, instead of having big stars who attract an audience from a way away, you tend to have, if there are 10 bouts in an evening, obviously 20 fighters, and each of those 20 fighters will probably sell, I don't know, 20 or 30 tickets. So the crowd is much more connected to the fighter, which gives a great atmosphere.
It's a different world, isn't it? I mean, when you go into UFC, it's very much fighters are up here, spectators are down here. But when you come into White Collar, it's so much closer. That real,
I think it's absolutely tremendous because
connection.
You know, building on from that, You know, you're right about the white collar boxing scene, but you know, when you look at MMA, I love MMA, and it's a really fantastic spectator sport as well. The problem with it for me is that even though you've got fighters at the top of their game, they're manufactured fights. I'm not suggesting the outcome's manufactured, it's just the fact that you've got two great fighters, they're put together for a particular title, they're paid to do it, generally speaking, and they put on a good show for the fans. White collar brings it back to what MMA is all about. The whole point of two different martial arts slugging it out in a cage to see who's got the best art
that
in
was
themselves.
The original concept, wasn't it?
Exactly.
As you'd see jiu-jitsu practitioners versus, I hate to say it, street fighters. I mean, because that was the original concept, wasn't it? And you'd get some excellent fights. They were a little bit brutal.
You get karate people knock people out in the first.
Yeah, you will. I mean, Lyoto Machida is fighting in the UFC at the minute. He has the fewest amount of hits onto him for his karate background because he's so used to not having points scored on him. But that's the real transition. I mean, white collar MMA is going to be a lot more of an involved fight than a tactical UFC one, isn't it?
Absolutely. And to be fair, something that may be really interesting to the viewers is that I think these guys have got so much less to lose. You know, they've got much less of a reputation, so they're much more likely to go for it and have a real scrap, have a fight. Now, which should be good to watch. It's
shameful to admit, but really we all want to see a bit of action
but also,
involved, don't we?
I think you also find that there's probably a lot more stand-up aspects of it.
Yeah.
You know, so many MMA fights go straight to the floor, and you know, there's some great techniques on the floor. But when you're standing up as well, and you're pulling out those kicks, or you know, and you get someone perhaps who's a grappler, you know, that really is a timing issue there. You've got to nail it or you're on the floor. So
that's the thing with stand-up. People who haven't necessarily done a lot of MMA can always appreciate stand-up because it's well known. But the finer points on the ground are really only seen by the people who really know, like the foot position to trap a leg or the hand position to trap an arm to move into a submission. It really takes a practiced mind to see those sort of things, and you probably won't see quite as much of that, like Adrian said.
Well, if you go back to the traditional karate, where I said that, you know, the guys throw less techniques, but they spend an awful lot of time setting a technique up. That's very true of MMA. You know, the guys go to ground, and to the inexperienced eye, it looks like they're rolling around maybe. But if you're an experienced person, you can say, oh, he's looking for you know, he's looking to do this. He's trying to set the guy up for something else. Excellent. But I think as hopefully we can play a part in this, helping to educate spectators into what may be going on.
Yeah, well, I'm talking to you guys now. If you want to see White Collar MMA on our channel, get on our Facebook page and put it down, okay? Because if you want to see it, we'll deliver it for you.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think it's a tremendous thing for martial arts.
And, yeah, I think it'll be fantastic, especially with Dave presenting it. We know that he'll give it.
He'll bring something to it in his own unique style. He will.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Unfortunately, on that note, that's it for us today. But let me remind you to check out the MAaction.com Facebook page and leave your feedback on what you'd next like to see on our channel. Thank you very much to my guests, and from all the team here, it's goodbye from now, and see you next time.